Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. It's really good to be back. And I actually didn't do this. I don't know if I should say this necessarily to everybody, but I actually went back and checked the analytics because I don't do that. Like, I don't check views or like time or anything like that because I'm not doing it for a monetary gain. I'm doing it to help people. But then I actually went back and checked it and I was overwhelmed with stuff. So I do want to say a huge thank you to everybody that went and watched podcasts, that have contacted people that have like spoken about certain things and been able to help them. It's great to hear. Anyway, we have a special guest today is actually going to answer some questions that I'm sure people want to know, but also, as I was saying to him before we started, I have questions to ask about technology, computer science, and various different things. It's Karim Fawaz. How are you, mate?
Thank you for having me. I'm good, man. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. What's so to get down to like the best questions, what made you want to get involved in the type of computer science thing? Like, what was the main reason behind it?
So getting into computer science, it was like an early decision I've made to start working on technology. I guess, like each family has the small tech guy, the young tech guy who takes care of every technology problem and whatnot. So it was me from a very young age. But the reason I started working in the computer science field was like I was a really hardcore gamer. I enjoyed playing games on my phone, on PS4s and whatnot. And I always had like, why don't this company add this feature to this game, or like create this new feature, or change this, or patch this? So I said, why not create my own game? So I taught myself how to code a 2D game. And from there, I just kept coming up with ideas and trying to learn as I went.
Oh, what games did you play?
Well, I was really into FIFA. I played FIFA from like FIFA 09 up until FIFA 21. And then the love for the game stopped. It's kind of sad.
When they kind of changed the way the game worked. Yeah, I feel you. So you're saying you got into like writing games. What was the first game you actually wrote? Like what?
So it was like just a basic 2D, like a jumping game, like a platform, and you just run and just tap once to jump, and then you tap again to just. It was just about learning how a rigid body moves inside the game, just to learn how an actual game engine works. Because when you create a platform, it's just not like hard coded. You had to create random platforms depending on the height and whatnot. And it was a very nice introduction to how programming and dynamic programming actually worked.
Yeah, I can feel you. Yeah. So was that did you do that? Is it called CC? Am I right in saying that? CC code?
It's C#. It's very close.
That's the one. Yeah, was that the one that you used for that?
Yeah, it was the one I used.
I know a little bit about that, but not so much that I want to start going into what I'm talking about because I don't know that much. But so you went from when you left school, was there an avenue? I know you as we've just said, you design games and things like that, and coded them and everything. Was that originally what you done after you left school? Like you went to college and then uni? Was that what you done, or was like another path type thing you took?
No, it was just it started out when I was 14. So I taught myself, like, instead of doing schoolwork, I just completely missed out on schoolwork and started learning on how to code. And as soon as I finished school, I had done mobile games and mobile applications and started making websites. So when I joined uni, it was not mainly about learning computer science. It was mainly about finding internships, and thank God I found one.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Congratulations as well, by the way.
Thank you.
But we'll talk about that in a second. So you went to the Queen Mary University of London. What now? I've spoken to, I think, 2 people now, or 3 people that were involved in London University life, and say it's absolutely amazing. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's a nice uni to be at because it has a very nice campus life. So instead of going out to restaurants, you can just go into the uni and hang out with friends in the uni accommodation. It's really the thing that makes it the most special. Other than that, I think, like most of the unis in London and in central London, because you have the lack of space, so they don't have the real campus life. It's just building to building. So this is the really nice aspect we have at Queen Mary.
Yeah. So you were there for, in fact, you are still there, doing computer science. But where did you? And obviously, we'll talk about your internship. But where after uni, was there a particular company or maybe startup or facility that you necessarily wanted to work at, or was it just like you were just open, you just wanted to be involved in the industry?
So as I started creating my own apps when I was young, I wanted to create a big name, like my own company, and called Brain 2.0. But I figured like being a young coder, it wouldn't be the most safe option for a career path.
Right.
So starting out, I started, for instance, now I'm working at a startup, working in the NFT space and looking for big companies. And when you start this early, you always aim to be at the biggest companies, which is like FANG, like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. So it was mainly about these big companies. I had like a book of goals. I wrote every single goal I had, and one of them was working at FANG. And thank God I got into Amazon.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how did that come about? And something else I want to add, a second part to that question was, when you were going for the interview to speak to the man or the woman or whatever the person identified as, when you were going to speak to the person, what did they? How did that feel, knowing that you had written that in your book that this was one of your dream jobs? So how did you take that?
So first of all, I'd like to point out that I applied for 97 internships, and
97.
Amazon was 97, and Amazon was the only one that I didn't apply for. I was actually recruited for LinkedIn. I didn't even know what the position was about. So as soon as you come up to a big company, you know that it won't be like a one-stage thing. So the first stage was about the CV, and then afterwards you had 3 exams. And it was during the 3rd exam that I mentioned, like, what they asked me, why did you want to be to work at Amazon? And I mentioned that it was one of my big goals to work there. And it was from this part and based on these 3 exams that I was invited for the interview. And then in the interview, you are interviewed by 2 of the managers for each team. So the manager that chose me was the supply chain manager in Europe. So they would actually talk about my upbringing and why I wanted to work at Amazon. So it was mainly talking about these goals as I went through the process, because it's a very long process. It took over a month to get to the final interview.
Damn. So when, as you're still at university now, are you going to leave university to then go to work at Amazon, or is it a part-time till you finish type deal?
It's a full-time job. I'm actually, as soon as I finish my 2nd semester, we have a 1-month period for exams. So I will just start my Amazon internship while the exams run. So after I finish my internship, I go back home to do my exam and go back to work. And then I finish my exam during the 2nd week of uni. So it's just connected, and I won't have a summer break, but trust me, it's going to be worth it. I hope so.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. This thing is, though, people that are willing to put in the time like that have like the university and then having exams and having the intern, and having this full-time job, and having everything, that's probably why they were like, yeah, if you're willing to do all that, how hard are you actually going to work at our company? Like, if you're going to work this hard now, you're going to work extra hard in a couple of years' time. You know what I mean? It's incredible. Again, well done, man. Yeah. Now, from you do have quite like an extensive background, and when it comes to computer science and that, but I do have, like, as I said, I do have a lot of technology questions, because to be honest with you, I think you're the most qualified person to ask me. But before I want to ask to you, but before I want to go into that sort of stuff, do you want to cover things you've done before that, before like maybe like uni, and then after uni before Amazon, just like maybe projects and things like that?
So this is a question I get a lot of LinkedIn messages to say, like, yeah, this is one of the companies I want to work in. How do I get there? What do I need to do to get there? And it's never about doing like a checklist. It's about having a vision in your mind, like, oh, coding has never been the goal. The goal has always been a vision, an idea. I want to create this type of application, and coding and computer science has always been a tool. And this is how you have to consider it. As long as you're working on your passion, people will figure out that, yeah, he's doing something he loves and he's going to contribute to our company, and this is what they like. This is the difference between startups and big companies. Big companies are looking for personalities, and startups are looking for people with a lot of mental abilities to help them go up.
Yeah. So you're saying that, I mean, you said that you were at a startup. So you're at a startup now. Is that while you're at uni as well? So that technically is 3 things you're doing.
Yeah, and
I'm
I'm
right.
working at uni as a teaching assistant.
And a teacher, so 4 different. Oh, wow. How do you find the time to do all that? I could actually. How do you split time between each jobs? And then the second part to this question is like, when you do that, what's your downtime like? Like, do you how much downtime? Not sleep wise. I mean, like actual awake downtime. How much downtime do you allocate every single day?
Well, to answer this question, I was like really wondering when should I like take a break and when will I burn out, because this is a big problem. Like, can you imagine doing exams for 3 months just for an internship, like every day, 2 or 4 hours worth of exams? So I would look at my friends and they had like a very nice chill time sitting on the bed and playing on the phone. So this was something that really did not like connect with me. So I always try to find something to do and keep myself busy. For instance, yesterday I had 3 meetings, 6 hours worth of lectures, and a project to work on. Did it mean that I had like 1 hour to breathe? No, I didn't have a single hour to breathe. But did I enjoy it? Yeah, I'm never tired of working. And my aim is just to work harder and harder and harder every single day and push myself to become the best version of myself. And this is the price you pay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's a price, as they say, there's a price to pay for greatness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 19.
19, yeah. So you're really young. So the fact that I'm 27, so the fact that you're that age and working that hard, yeah, there's a lot of different things you could be doing. So that's why companies and that will probably respect you more, because you're not doing that. Like you're not, wasting your time on certain things or substances or anything like that you're would neglect from work, which is, again, it's amazing. But now it's technical questions, kind of. Maybe it's not to some people, but to me it is. Before we break in it, just because your startup, if I'm right in saying, is to do with NFTs, is that right?
Yes.
Now, the base, very, I know what an NFT is, but do you want to explain to people that's watching what an NFT is?
So basically, to put it in the least amount of words possible, because we can go on and on in the definition, it's, imagine if you had the Mona Lisa, which is an art piece, and you had the picture on your phone, but certified that it's the actual version. Like, imagine if someone draws something virtually and you can own it as a virtual thing. It connects physical art or physical items into a verified, authenticated system, which everyone can access and know that you have the authentic version of the art piece or design.
So what's thank you for that. So what's now your startup? So it's in the NFT space. Is that to do with the metaverse, or is that literally which we'll get into a second, by the people, or is that literally NFTs as art and animated photos, or that? What one is it?
Well, I wish I could give the most information possible, but I will tell you that it's not about creating NFTs. It's about providing platforms combining NFTs, the metaverse, and augmented reality with hardware into your home.
Oh, wow. Damn. Yeah, I suppose, you won't actually be able to say a lot, which is fully respectful.
Yeah.
But like, again, good for you, because I know I've not been involved in selling or nothing like that, but when it comes to art and that, I do have a lot of like graphic design experience. So I have kind of created some things back and forth and things, and it's not as easy as putting something out there, because if one little thing is copyrighted, you're done. You can't put it out, because
exactly,
I could create something and like, obviously we know who you are now, but then say we didn't know who you were, you could be like, no, okay, wait a minute, I own that pit, and then I have to pay you, or you can sue.
We're protecting just the designers and the artists, because in the future, these are the most important jobs we have there. Everything else will be automated.
Yeah, I fully agree. And the fact that, like, you can see, you get a lot of these people going on TikTok or going on Instagram, or even going on some YouTube videos, to be fair, like the shorts bit or reels or whatever, and going on about how you can screenshot the stuff and then it belongs to you. It's like, okay, you can say that, but then again, you can go and take I don't know if you can. You can go and take a photo of the Eiffel Tower, but the Eiffel Tower doesn't belong to you. Like, you know what I mean? Is that, I was about to say the Mona Lisa, but I don't actually think you're allowed your cameras in the place that's held, but I have no idea. Anyway, the same kind of thing. If you take a photo of the Mona Lisa, it doesn't mean you own it. But so say I'll just make it really basic for people. Say I go, right, I'm going to buy an NFT. So I'll buy an NFT using cryptocurrency, which we'll get into as well. What then happens? Like, where does the once I put in, say it costs £100, right? Just to make it easy for us. I pay £100 for an NFT and it goes into cryptocurrency. Then what happens?
So when you earn money, where do you store the money initially? When someone gives you $100 worth of cash, where do you put it?
In my wallet.
So you have a wallet in the blockchain. So each person has like a serial number which connects your assets to a wallet. And there are many types of wallets. We're not gonna get into it, like cold storage and online wallets.
Yeah.
But like you would, inside the wallet, you would have the serial number or the blockchain address, which connects the asset or the store of value to your wallet and makes it authenticate that you own it.
So then, yeah, thank you for that, by the way. I'm sure that's definitely helped people. I think, and you're very right. And if I was younger, I think I'm not that much older I make myself sound really old there. I'm like 8 years older than you, so I'm not like horrendously older than you, but I am older than you. So like, yeah, if I was your age, like as I said to a family member, one of my cousins is she's 20, so she's just a little 21, sorry, 21 actually now, 21 the other week. So she said, what do you think I should do and stuff like that, and I said computer science, and I was like, anything to do with computers, making, designing, drawing, online graphic, because art that you have in your house, like I've got two paintings of two my mum used to show cats, so they're very famous show cats. So she's got them there, and I said to her, I was like, you know, Sandy, when she came in to see this for the first time, the office setup, I was like, you know, Sandy, I was like, soon they'll actually be online. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, soon you'll actually be able to have them online on animated screens on your wall. I've seen videos, and the videos of people that they have it's not animated, sorry, it's LED screens on their walls, and they have huge walls full of LEDs, and they've got their paintings. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But what's your opinion on the fact how they sell for like, I know obviously I understand value, but what's your opinion on the fact how they sell for hundreds of thousands of pounds? So they're only really available to like a limited amount of people. What's your opinion on that?
So if you compare anything regarding technology with advancement and as they grew, for instance, you could look at computer chips, which we have like thousands and thousands in each device we have today. Back then, one chip would cost around $100,000 each. And as the popularity grew and people started implementing them, we found ways to improve them while reducing the costs, because like it's easier to implement into our daily lives and technology. So anything new, you have the hype around it. You can see like it's a very parabolic movement. Like it goes up and it goes down very quickly because it's just hype driven so far. But as soon as it becomes mainstream way of transacting, then it would have like a more subtle difference in the pricing. It won't be like astronomically high prices.
Yeah, because I mean, you're very right. Yeah, when paintings back in I'm not getting the year wrong because I'll get called out on that. So back cavemen days, they used to draw on walls and and then when they discovered they could use various different, like finding inks and paints and that, they started costing much. And the more it's kind of like iPhones. I know they've went up in price in a way, but still though they've still like they could be £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 easily. But back when our first iPhone was out, it was really hard to get hold of. Obviously, inflation and growth in hourly pay and stuff like that. But like take away the economic side of it, they've went up in price. But then they kind of monotoned a little bit and like stayed at kind of like an equal line. So do you think that, like you quite rightfully just said, that there will become a time that NFTs, obviously you'll get like the Mona Lisa and the Van Gogh and all these sorts. We will get the proper high end NFTs, but I do think the NFTs that are selling for between maybe 1,000 to 3,000 or 4,000, maybe 5,000, 6,000, they will come down. There will be like
It's not about this. I think it's about adoption of blockchain technology. Right now, when you're saying it costs 1,000, 1,500, you're not speaking about the actual price, which is in Ethereum, which is how they're selling it. So in a few years, I hope so, if we find a way to implement it in a very reliable way, which which makes life easier for everyone to use these technologies. Right now, I don't see how it's going to happen in the next 5 or 6 years, but in the next 10, 15 years, maybe, then you would say it costs 0.5 ETH or 1 ETH or 2 ETH. It's like saying $1 or $2. Like, it's about adoption, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I was just keeping it nice and simple for people to be able to go. But yeah, you're right. And something I'm curious about your opinion on it, because again, you're the most, just being truthful, the most qualified person I've spoken to on this. So say I'm going to buy, because we're both wearing glasses, a pair of glasses, right? Again, we'll say it costs 1 ETH, which would be like, I don't know, what is that today? Like 2,000 pounds?
2,300 around,
Yeah, something like that. I don't want to talk about finances, but I do keep tracking it. But I don't. Obviously, you can imagine you don't talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's about that. We'll say 2 just to keep it nice and equal, right? Or 2,300 because it's what it actually is. Well, that's where it was last time I checked. But anyway, so like, okay, and we're gonna buy glasses 2,000. So you go to trade it over, but then 5 minutes later, it could be worth, we'll say, £2,000. So you've just lost £300. I'm buying them from you. Do you think there's ever going to become like an kind of insurance policy, or a way that they're going to have to, because eventually you could buy something for a certain price, and because I know what I'm trying to say here, but it's kind of hard to ask, the depreciation in money, like if you go to buy a car, do you think, and you pay I think it's like £150 a year, is it? Yeah, it's £150 a year, where you don't have to worry about that, they'll take care of that. Do you think there'll ever be something like that in the cryptocurrency markets, where even though depreciation happens, it's going to kind of be controlled?
Yeah, it's definitely starting with the regulations. So it's definitely like, as soon as we start getting regulations and rules, like for instance, now, if I told you a few years back that the government would implement taxes for crypto, specifically crypto, not just any assets, you would think I'm crazy. But right now they have new tax laws in each country for cryptocurrencies. Then of course I could say that these tax government entities will work on regulations regarding NFTs, cryptocurrencies, and every single token in this metaverse that we're creating. So definitely with regulations, we can see a more logical way of price movement.
Yeah. Do you think that'll affect the price at all? Like, do you think that'll change the price of Ether, or do you think people are just going to be like, because I mean, Tesla stock was at, last time I was looking at it, was it like $700-800, which is obviously a little bit going now, obviously. But that's the last time I was kind of knew about it, is a good way to put it. So do you think there'll be because obviously there's regulations on stock. If you have stock, you have to pay price every single year on top of your normal tax. But how do you think they're going to manage to control that with the fact that there is ways and means of finding out who owns stuff, but with the blockchain pretty much being, and you can't really see who has what, how do you think they're going to manage, take money from people that way through tax and regulations?
Well, right now, to my knowledge, most people aren't like using their wallets, like their own personal wallets, to transact with crypto. They're using exchanges, and these exchanges are centralized. Like, there are people who own these exchanges. Like, there's the CEO of Binance, CEO of KuCoin, CEO of FTX, and these people have to have interactions with the government, and they provide the necessary details for them to keep track of people.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only way we can find out who owns what, or else we can just track down. Like, we have seen many scams running in crypto, and the government, and many governments have been able to track down who owned this wallet. Does it mean that every single criminal offense has been tracked? No, but like, they're working on it, and they're discovering new ways to make it easier and quicker for people to get their money back, because we know there's a lot of scams in this space as we speak.
Yeah. But again, I put a question to you that even though you're able to figure it out, do you think because so does that technically mean that do you think it technically means that it's not decentralized then? Because usually decentralized stuff's where no one can see what you're doing, but it's a it's not even 4 or 5, it's literally maybe like 1 or 2. But the fact that more and more people can see what you're doing, do you think that actually puts it on like being centralized, or do you think no, it's still decentralized?
It will still be decentralized, because by definition, decentralized, it means it's in no one's power. But at the same time, decentralized comes with the blockchain, and on the blockchain you can see every single transaction. Because how do you know now who owns the wallet for the CEO of Ethereum. We know what's the wallet of the CEO of Ethereum. This is why people send him like free crypto. Like you were able to track it down, but you can't compare crypto. You can't compare crypto to stocks. How does the government know what stocks do you own? It's like the exchanges provide the details to the government that you own this. You should expect this amount of taxes to be paid.
Yeah, you're right. So does that mean, no, it doesn't mean. I take it that means that, again, just to put it to people, I know I'm asking very simple questions. I know this stuff, but I really want to help people that don't know, because I think, as I said to the start, and as I will say, that I really think people should get involved in this. Like I am, like, we don't have to talk about it, but maybe you are. Well, he clearly is, all this sort of people. But so do you think that even though the government can go, do you think these companies will actually tell them what it is, or do you think they'll hold it back to kind of keep the whole cryptocurrency bubble type thing?
But I don't think they have a choice. Like if they don't like communicate with the government correctly, there will be like charges, and the government has the ability to close down an exchange if they wanted to, can't they? Like each government can do whatever they want depending on which company is based in their country.
True, yeah. I actually spoke to somebody the other day, not that's involved in cryptocurrencies or nothing like that, but to do with politics. Don't really want to talk about it, but various different subjects. Anyway, he was saying that, because I was talking about how I do a podcast, and he was like, do you know there's 14 people, this person is a lecturer at university, definitely knows what he's talking about. He said, there's 14 people that have keys, quote unquote, to the internet. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, if these 14 people could shut down the internet completely. And I was like, all right, okay. So then I knew I was going to be speaking to you. So my fact was that, do you think again, this might be a stupid question, but I don't think it is. Do you think there's a way to still use cryptocurrency in that without the kind of, without the internet? So kind of we can use it like a bank account type thing. Or do you think, no, it's definitely all involved in the internet?
Well, no, because even if we disconnect from the internet, people like back in 2009, 2010, like I think a bit afterwards, like 2012, 13, people had like on their old computers, on their hard disk, a Bitcoin miner, in which they still had like 5, 6, 7 Bitcoins in there. So even without the internet, the Bitcoins are still there. Now, if we don't have Wi-Fi, we can just use Bluetooth or NFC connections. We can just tap it like you tap your phone on the tube station to just do a transaction. Now, does the internet make it easier? Yes, it does. But again, you can see projects, for instance, where do you think the connection between the American continent is connected to Wi-Fi? It's under the water. There's a big tube filled with cables that connects the American continent with the internet. So if something happens to it, like sharks that are biting on these tubes, and something happens, then it's disconnected from the internet.
You're very right. But I do think that eventually we'll come to a time, because we will get to Metaverse, because it's very interesting. But excuse me, I do think we're coming to a time where I still think, I know like this is very controversial, because I know there will be cryptocurrency people that watch this and they will be very like against what I'm going to say. I still think we will have a base, if we're calling like a pyramid, right? I know that was okay. We'll say a circle. We'll say the outside will be inside the circle will be cryptocurrency, and obviously it'll expand until it hits the borders. But outside of the circle, or even like round the circle, I still see there being a bit of fiat currency somewhere. It won't be predominant, but I think there will still be sort of, not to an extent, but like a little bit of fiat currency involved. What's your opinion on that one?
Well, it's definitely, because I personally was invested in a company that only works on the fiat currencies, and the United States of America are working on their own cryptocurrency, the dollar, the crypto dollar, and the digital yen from China. Like there are many companies that are working on their own cryptocurrencies that are like fiat based, that are pegged to the dollar. Like this is still something in this world.
Wow, that kind of contradicts what I just said. Yeah, because I genuinely didn't know that. That's actually amazing. So, like, do you think that here's a good question? you can trade on you can trade. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's called commodities or not. I don't think it is. I know you can
Like
trade
gold?
on. That's the one. You can trade on that, and you can also trade on like if the British pound's going to go up and down in value. So do you
Yeah.
think you'll be able to trade on the as you we'll just say the crypto yen and crypto dollar because it just makes it easier for people. Do you think they'll be able to? Do you think you'll be able to trade on the crypto yen and crypto dollar like you can on the normal dollar and the normal yen?
They're already doing that.
All right,
There
I
are
didn't.
many companies. Yeah, there are many companies like only working on fiat coins. There are many different types of fiat coins that are pegged to each type of currency. Like we have the fiat, euro, the yen, the dollar, Canadian dollars. We have many different types of fiat coins, and they're using these like digital coins to trade and make like future like stock options. Like I think I'm going long on Bitcoin using these fiat coins.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I hope that was interesting to people to hear about cryptocurrency because we literally could talk in days and days, and I have lots of other questions I want to ask. So let's move sections now. The metaverse, because I
Yeah.
think it's very, very, very. Although it's been here, although Elon Musk came out and said your phone is just the metaverse that you just never knew about, which is debatable. I mean, he has a truth. You kind of then he brought into the whole cyborgs thing, so obviously it was he kind of went off on a tangent about like weird random things
It's a
that day.
very Elon thing.
Yeah. Very, very. I'm then not taking anything away from the guy, but he does jump from one subject and then way to the other and then comes back to it. It's like a yo-yo. But like amazing guy, though. Love the guy. Love to meet him one day. If you ever watch this Elon, hit me up. But anyway, so the metaverse. Do you want to explain to people on like really? You have a way of explaining stuff. So really, the way you explain it and what the metaverse is and how we can. In fact, no. What it is would be a better way to start. What it is?
It's as if you put a pair of glasses on and you were disconnected from your room and you're suddenly on a roller coaster. It's like being in, like living inside another world, which is fully digital and fully virtual.
Mm-hmm.
You can interact with people. Like you can be a dinosaur if you want to. If you can be on a roller coaster if you want to. You can have digital property if you want to. Your NFT that you own, you can see it in real life as if it was a 3D thing and walk around it. You can live in a side world, if you may.
And again, I know this stuff, but I want to emphasize to people, I really want to get the basic information out there so I can help somebody. So is there only one metaverse or is there multiple metaverses? And if they are, you might not know, but maybe like who owns them and like, and so three parts to the question. Is there well, in fact, we'll split it down. So is there more than one metaverse?
Well, I don't think I'm qualified enough to give a straight answer, but I think the metaverse is entirely an environment more than a world. So if I think maybe I'm wrong, but maybe you can create as many worlds as you want. Like not every single person will be connected to the same environment as you are in. Maybe each big company like Meta, which was Facebook, can create its own environment and people can join in. But if Google wants to kick in, I don't think they will join Facebook's metaverse.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie? Have you ever seen the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake?
No.
Oh,
In Time, yeah. In Time is my favorite movie.
Yeah, where he has the time on his arm. Yeah. I was so hoping that was the name of it. So there's obviously, as people that don't know, you will know, again, amazing movie. I'm actually not surprised you know about it because it was very, very, very way in front of it. It's like, if it was brought out today, it'd make loads of sense. When it was brought out, it really made no sense. Because
it was a very old movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah, really old. But what effectively happens with people that don't know, obviously you can look it up, but because you're listening and watching, that on their arm, just in here, in their forearm, they have time, and you get paid by time and paid by that. But what a lot of people are saying is the two things about that movie. One of them was that was kind of like showing us that that's how cryptocurrency is going to work. So you're not actually going to get paid. You're not going to have cash or nothing like that. Cash is done. Cash is actually kind of disappearing anyway. If you're in shops and that, you can kind of see nobody really pays with cash. It's all card. And two, there was levels. So you moved, the more money you had, you moved up section and section and section and section, and you kind of got to progress to the best section, but it was split everybody that was like in the economic value type thing. Do you think that if this was to happen, there would be that type of thing? So like maybe, obviously I don't know your personal finances, but I know I'm not a billionaire, so I wouldn't be in the same place as I wouldn't be in the same metaverse as Bill Gates and stuff like that, or even like people down from him, like I don't know, Alan Sugar, and then, you know, obviously you got your rappers, then you'd have us, and then you'd have me. Or do you think everybody will be eventually be involved in the one? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think it all depends whether the metaverse is meant to give people opportunities or make them have a good experience, or it's meant for just people to showboat what they already own. It depends on how it goes, because we're still early in the implementation and how we're gonna use it in our daily lives. But like it all depends on what's the intention of the developers.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, by the way. That I mean, you're exactly right, to be honest. I do think that eventually we'll have a bigger picture of it. This year, I think it's definitely going to change things, because apparently Meta, aka Facebook, for those that don't know, they actually have an app coming out that effectively has 4 different icons. I think it's 4. It's for Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. I don't know if you know about this at all, Kareem,
No.
but yeah, they're bringing out an app. So effectively, you'll have one app and then you'll click on it and it'll take you to Instagram. Click on it, it'll take you to your face. So it's kind of all being in one thing. And they're saying that's going to be linked to the metaverse, because then you can earn money through it and all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think eventually that you'll have jobs, for example, we could be working right now in this type of environment? So you're at your home, at working in the metaverse, or do you still think they'll have jobs like public ways, or do you think that'll get taken over by like robots and so on, so on, so on?
Well, I don't think if you're aware of it, but already people are selling physical real estate in the metaverse, and it's been happening for over 3 to 5 years. People are just putting on their Oculus goggles and then they're inside the metaverse and they're selling their physical properties online. That's been happening for many years. So already the job opportunities there are endless. Now, for the physical jobs, I don't think we'll ever see a day where we don't have any jobs to do like in real life, like completely disconnected from real life, because I think by then it would become like a worldwide addiction to not being present.
See, addiction, yeah, you make a very good point there. Social media is effectively an addiction. It's true, this is what it is. The gym is, eating, I don't know if people just heard that, a bin just fell over outside. Chocolate is, juice is, everything. But do you think though there'll be a time where you can have like in fact, I guess you answered the question really. There is a time now where you can have a part-time job in the metaverse and you could have a part-time job in real life. So you've kind of got that disconnect. But would you say like us as humans, we actually need that disconnect? Or do you think we could effectively work 8 hours a day in the metaverse and then come out? Or do you think that's really not a good thing?
Well, I think the metaverse gives flexibility and removes some limitations to our lives, but at the same time, freedom isn't always the best option, because people don't know how to limit their freedom. For instance, when people became more free to know themselves and identify themselves, we had like very extreme cases where people thought, oh, okay, I want to be transabled, so they just amputate themselves because they want to feel like they're an amputee. Like there's a limit always to freedom and how you use this freedom, as in you just don't limit yourself or just use it to its full extent. So it just depends on how people will actually use it. For instance, people who already had the Oculus goggles knew it was an opportunity for them to be somewhere and expose their real estate without actually being present there. So they already found out to be flexible and be in many places at the same time.
So do you think, again, very good explanation of it. So do you think that for people that don't know, obviously there's loads of different crypto. I'm sure everybody does know, but there's loads of different cryptocurrencies, like we've kind of went over a little bit. But do you think that obviously Bitcoin is the main one? Well, there's obviously debatable because Ethereum is mainly used to trade NFTs and stuff. But anyway, take away that side of thing. Do you think there'll ever be a one kind of like use like cryptocurrency in the sense of it kind of holds its value, or do you think their values are always going to fluctuate in their worth?
I've been like researching Bitcoin from 2015 until today, and back then when people were trying to explain how Bitcoin, which was in their minds the cryptocurrency which would be implemented in our daily lives forever, they said that as soon as enough people like adopt it and own Bitcoin, then because it's limited to the amount of supply of Bitcoin we can get, like it's very limited, in 2100, I think you would get the final Bitcoin to be mined. Then when we have a stable number of Bitcoin and a stable number of owners, they don't have to buy and sell it. We would just transact with it. Then it would change the fluctuation. And since there's a bigger supply, then the fluctuation variation would be very minimal. Like instead of today, like a few days ago, it was like around 45K. Today, last time I checked, it was 36K. So it's a big change for people. But when enough adoption happens and enough people have Bitcoins, then they don't have to sell it anymore. Why would you sell it? You just transact with it and use it. So then the selling pressure would be gone. It would be much more difficult for people to manipulate the prices. And then it would just bring some stability.
So do you think that even after everything we've said, do you think that eventually, because obviously right now your money is held by banks, they know exactly what you have, they know exactly how money works. Again, for people that know, I'm not going into exactly how money works and how it's created because it's so confusing. But anyway, it makes sense to some people, but it blows my mind. But do you think we'll ever, because obviously, like you're saying, we have loads of different wallets. You know, I have a wallet, maybe probably you have a wallet as well. Do you think we'll eventually have a bank place so we'll all use the one thing, like each country, or do you think it will eventually just be loads and loads and loads of different wallets? If so, how do you think that's going to manage when you get people like hackers and scammers and stuff like that hack into your account and take everything?
Well, in order to access a wallet, you need to find out the serial code. Like each wallet has a secret code or a series of words, which if used in the correct way and the correct words and the correct sequence, then you would be able to access your wallet. And this is why you should never give a sequence or the words to anyone, because easily someone can access your wallet. This is your personal wallet. Now for exchanges are paying millions upon millions and even billions every single day and maybe weeks, just to make sure that the security is on point. You have two-factor authentication to make sure that the person accessing your account on Binance or KuCoin or FTX, they make sure they send a text message to your phone. Sometimes they use an authenticating app just to make sure that it's you. So they're really taking into account the security and the privacy and the cybersecurity stuff thing about it. But at the same time, if you give away your password, it's not up to the exchange to protect you every time.
Exactly. Do you when you lose X amount of money from your bank account, you can claim it back to an extent. You don't all. For every pound, from people that I've personally spoken to, just obviously their opinions on it, for every pound they lost, they got like 92p back. Was it 92, 91? Something like that. So it wasn't all of it, but it was obviously like clearly 91% of it. But cryptocurrency, you can't, as in my knowledge, obviously you'll know better, you can't get it back when you've lost it, or can you?
Because it's like, okay, so you compared cryptocurrency to a currency, which makes sense. But right now, what we're using cryptocurrencies as are assets. So if someone takes the bar of gold from your house and takes it away and steals it, does the bank or anyone just gives you another bar of gold back? No, because the bank can access the transaction because they created the transaction environment from which they can void the transactions that were made and give you back the money that someone used your card for. This is how it actually happens in the real world. As soon as we start using cryptocurrencies, using like credit cards or debit cards to make transactions, then the people who are behind the project can void the transactions that were made using the stolen credit card, and then you would get your money back. It's very far-fetched, but right now it's more of an asset or a store of value more than just a currency or a way of transacting.
Yeah, exactly. There does come a place where, because that's a question I get asked a lot when someone not figures out when I get into because everybody that watches this knows I'm an athlete, so I train at the gym every day. And when they ask me about cryptocurrency and what I should get involved in and stuff, they're like, "Are you not scared the amount of money you have, or you don't have, or you may have, or if you have hundreds of millions, are you not?" It's like, no, because like obviously it can go, but you can get it back. But you might not be able to trace it, but you can trace where it's went. Am I right in saying? Am I on the right track? You can kind of trace
just like
where it's
currencies.
went. Yeah, so it's I think there's a lot of like misconceptions, which again is why people are so worried about it when you could just take the time to research it. But that's the problem. There's a lot of things online that are promoting we can buy into Bitcoin, we can buy into this, we can buy. Usually it's Bitcoin because it's the most. Not a lot of people know what Ethereum is. Well, if you're involved in the space, you definitely will, but not a lot of people will actually know what Ethereum is or all these other altcoins or Dogecoin. Well, people might know who Dogecoin is, mind you, but Bitcoin's the main one. There's a lot of scammers in that. So obviously there's not when it goes to fake money, you don't really get nowadays. Not even when we were younger, our parents were younger, but even before that, you used to get fake money given to you because it was easy. You wouldn't know, you'd have no idea. Do you think eventually these guys that scam our Bitcoins, just for, again, we'll do one crypto, we'll take our Bitcoins, do you think that'll eventually disappear because they'll realize that, they'll realize that kind of like what the people did with paper money, people are clicking on, or do you think there'll always be people trying to scam us for Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff?
Well, I think the people who are actually scamming are making tons and tons and tons of money. So I don't see an incentive for them to stop, honestly, if I am speaking. But I just had a nice point to point out about tracing the money. Do you know how many, let's say take dollars as an example. Do you know how many dollars were like shred to pieces or burnt that the government can't track anymore? Like you can't know where each and every single dollar or dime goes to. How many dollars have been like torn apart and gone, or like
trillions probably.
Yeah, so it's the problem with this. It's like companies want to start maybe using these types of cryptocurrencies because, for instance, consider Apple. If Apple created their own cryptocurrency and you had to use this Apple coin, let's say to buy an iPhone, then they will be able to track this specific iPhone coin after someone uses it and buys the iPhone. Where did this money go? Oh, it went to McDonald's. So we know that our clients like McDonald's as well. So they can track their customers as well. Like cryptocurrencies opens a lot of opportunities for each and every single sector in the world, like for governments, for banks, for people, for artists, for companies, for advertising, for everything.
Yeah, I think the only thing that worries people, I know we kind of jumped away from the metaverse, but again, it does, there's not a lot to explain about it as such because it's really new. Well, quote unquote new. More people are finding out about it, is a better way to put it. And more of the normal, not smart people like yourself or people that are involved in that space, it's kind of breaking away from that. So more people are starting to reach out and things. But do you think eventually that, because obviously you've got, I don't know if you remember Club Penguin and things like that? Yep. So that was online. That was pretty much, you could go and meet your friends, and I guess it depends, obviously you could maybe you didn't have a headset, maybe you did, whatever, I had a headset and you could speak to you meet your friends, but you still sat in your house and all this sort of stuff. Do you think eventually we'll come to a day where that will be the new social norm, to go on the metaverse and meet your people? Or again, do you think we will eventually still have I'm going to go outside for 20 minutes and play with my mates? Or do you think it'll always be in the metaverse after a while?
Well, we know that humans are social human beings. They enjoy socializing, most of them, I think. I don't want to see this day happening. Do I know what's going to happen? No one knows. If I told my mom I would be talking about the metaverse on the podcast a few years ago, she would say no way. So I can't say there's no way that we would be sitting in our homes and never have to leave our house again. Do I know which each and every individual wants? There are people who are more sociable than others. There are people that really need to have someone around them to talk to. Do I know if this metaverse provides the sense of communication that normal communication does? There's one way to find out. Depends how realistic the metaverse will be.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I think something that's that's kind of, obviously, again, the sale was real when I can't remember who bought. It was Xbox, and they bought a bunch of companies, but it was Blizzard and things like that. And with the big Blizzard are the big ones, My personal opinion, the biggest one. But it was like 69 billion or something. But there's been rumors that instead of having Xbox consoles the normal way they are, it's going to be eventually you're going to be standing on. I don't know. Maybe you have seen it, to be honest with you. It's like a little circle podium you're standing on, and you've got a bit that goes around your waist, and you're kind of strapped in with a gun and the glasses and the gun. It looks like so much. You can go and try it in places, in Scotland, Edinburgh, and obviously London. There definitely will be places. Do you think that that's just what people think? Do you think that'll eventually be the new whole social norm type thing? So you won't see the soldier's face; it will be your face, and you'll be running about, the streets, for example, just say London and things like that, because there'll be no more console gaming. Or do you think there always will still be that console game?
About console games, like I think they're vastly different experiences.
Oh yeah.
Like, for instance, I think if you played like FIFA, like sometimes after the game you enjoyed the tension of playing against your mate and looking at him while he's like preparing for a penalty kick or whatnot. So for like games like Call of Duty, maybe people would enjoy more being really inside the environment of the zombies, if you may, or the multiplayer game. But each and every single game has its different environment and has a psychological way of thinking to know which customers to interact with and which customers to really connect with. So it's just about how they make them feel while playing the game. So maybe consoles will stay forever. Maybe we will need consoles forever, or maybe we'll just become like a fully VR or augmented reality game consoles.
Yeah, I think you're very right. And the reason I asked that is because excuse me, I actually got asked that question. Used to be in a semi-competitive gamer myself. Used to use game battles and stuff like that when I was younger. So and heavily did that. So I got asked that the other day. Do you think eventually there won't be a time where that won't happen? And I said, well, name two consoles that are huge to this day that are still huge. And people were like Game Boys, Nintendo 64. I was like, exactly. And people still play them every single day. They still play them religiously. So they're still going to play them. They just don't play them as much. I think that's the whole spectrum of it, that they're not going to play them as much, but they're still going to play them. They're still going to have the thing, but then they're going to move on to the metaverse because their friends on there, they can earn money. I think what it's going to do, I think the metaverse, and obviously feel free to button at any point, by the way, the metaverse is going to create jobs and actually spread the wealth not from the many and the few, because I don't believe in that. I had nothing and I worked my way up to where I am just now. Again, I'm not talking about finances, but couldn't even afford lights or nothing like that. I generally had not had a lot of money, staying at home and stuff, and I moved my way up. So that's not necessarily true. But do you think it's going to be easier for people to get kind of the wealth and spread it down now that the metaverse is supplying jobs and all this sort of stuff?
Well, people often make the comparison between the metaverse and the internet when the internet was emerging and becoming a very big thing in our daily lives. Did every single person make use of the internet and make money off of it? No, but there are many big companies that were founded based on the internet and made quite a lot of money because of it. Does it open the opportunity for many people to make money? Sure. But do I think that it would help spread the wealth from the big companies to other smaller people? No, because if there's a very big percentage of money being printed just in the last year in 2020. I think 20 or 30% of every single dollar was printed in 2020. Yet the richest people in the world just became exponentially more rich and wealthier. So I think sometimes they're just too smart for other people. So when new money is being printed and people are just trying to divide the wealth to many people, it would just find a way to go back to the wealthy people because they just provide so many services that people need on a daily basis. So it will just create an opportunity, but at the same time, the big companies will remain the big companies.
Yeah, I think what I'm intrigued to see about, not who it will be, because I'm not going to know the person, and that doesn't really concern me because I won't know the background and stuff. Because the very first, what was that lassie's name? The black-haired lassie. oh, what's famous TV person? Kylie Jenner. That was the one. Because she was actually in the news this morning. But she was a billionaire, something like 24, 23, 24, something along those lines.
She's maybe the youngest billionaire.
Yeah, the youngest billionaire that we know of ever.
Yeah.
Self-made. Well, I guess I shouldn't use that word, but we'll say self-made. But it'll be interesting to see. Well, I think she was like 24, 25. We'll just say that because it makes it easier. It'll be interesting to see what age the first billionaire from the metaverse becomes. Because I think it will be someone like your age, maybe that started, 16, anywhere from 16 to 21. I think that'll be the new age. The new billionaires will become from that. And then when they hit my age, they will be in their tens of billions. And when they hit, I don't know how old your parents are. And obviously we won't talk about that, but I know how old mine are. And when they hit their age, I'm going to get slapped for saying that from my mum, but it's true. When it hits her age, they'll be trillionaires. So do you think that'll eventually come down, and then eventually there will be a time where then they'll turn out and it won't be what's after quadrillion? So it'll be like quadrillionaires and so on, so on, so on. Do you think that'll eventually happen, or do you still think it'll take a while to rack up that type of thing, or it'll be held by like the few?
Well, I don't think it's quite a linear relationship between like every single year as we grow older, we just make more money. I think with big like rewards, you have a big responsibility. If someone is 16 or 15 and has $1 million, do you think he will know how to manage these assets as in a sophisticated way, like a 24 or 25-year-old would? Like it depends on what happens with this money. Do I think that eventually we will have trillionaires? Yeah, I think we already have trillionaires, but it's not in the public space.
Yeah, definitely.
Quadrillionaires, it's quite a big number. Do you need this amount of money to help the earth? Yeah, we need someone to help like famine and other things. If they're going to use their money and their wealth for these causes, sure, go for it. Quadrillionaires and pentamillionaires and whatever you want, just help the other people out and don't hoard money for the sake of it.
Yeah, I'm all for charities and stuff. I'm all for that. I'd spend a lot of money, not too much, but I did take a look back because obviously, again, I don't really want to say a lot because I really keep income and personal stuff like that. I'm not a millionaire, but I do keep everything like that personal because I just believe it's not something you should discuss ever. But every December, I have a since I was again, I was 27, since I was 18, really, since I became, actually started working heavily on everything I did. Every December, I think 21st, I've decided that I'll come around in the last 9 years, I check my finances, just go through every single thing I've spent and wonder how I can change it every single. It's not because like I'm really smart, but it's because like I think every penny counts because I could have had that in an NFT, or I could have had that in cryptocurrency, or I could have had it in like I said, Tesla, which I could have had that in Tesla or something like that. Which I like Tesla, but man,
it's fine.
Yeah, they owe me a lot of money. They owe me a lot of money. Tesla owe me money. But I think everything we've covered and stuff like that was on what I will say to people that, and I kind of know exactly what you're talking about. It was very detailed, like very, very detailed what you were saying. But you can go deeper than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you can go way. It's a dark hole that you could. You could literally talk for years, and honestly years, about the possibilities of the metaverse and NFTs and creativity. And because for those of you, probably people do know, because I think Gunna, the rapper, just bought one for like 260,000. One of the Bored Ape people, and then Future bought one for like 303. It's now a community that you can buy into for those types of numbers to then get put into a Discord group with Future, Drake, Warren Buffett, all those types of people. It's absolutely amazing. Before we go, I do want to say, like, I have some questions I do want to ask you, but that's the very one that I'll leave that at that because we've definitely given a lot of information to people. What's your opinion on that side of things, that you have to spend that to be in that type of environment with people? Do you think that's the way it should be because obviously it forces us to work hard, or do you think it should be more easily accessible because of that's kind of still keeping the money in the few type thing, as people say?
I think it's these types of projects are just about providing value. You could argue like potentially they could just give an NFT to a big rapper, and then it would convince other people to join into the project, and that's a whole nother conversation. But just about the experience it provides when you buy NFTs. For instance, yesterday I just had a friend over and he was asking, does anyone have 50K liquid? I was looking at, what do you need 50K for? He said, I want to buy a Mickey Mouse NFT for 50K, and this provides a lifetime access for Disneyland. Yeah. And he was like very angry. It was like, 3 weeks ago, it was 12K, and then it jumped to 20K, then to 25, then to 40, and now it's 50K. I need the 50K liquid today to buy the NFT. So it's just about the experience and the value you think you own when you own these types of NFTs. I think the hype, as soon as you buy it, you're like really ecstatic and very, very happy and very excited to use it and showcase it. But I think it kind of wears off, because usually we see like there are new projects where they are hidden, the new NFTs that will be selling. First of all, they would be like to 8.1 Ethereum, which is quite a lot. And then as soon as they reveal it, it plummets, the price absolutely plummets. So it's just about the hype and the value you think you're getting when you buy the NFTs, until it honestly becomes a very big thing and a mainstream thing. Then we could logically evaluate how valuable it is.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think that's one thing as well, and a lot of people don't know. Well, anybody that knows that gets involved is in the stock market, is you get this such thing called dividends. Yeah. So either it be every quarter, you know, some of them actually pay you every month, believe it or not. It's very little, but it's to pay you every month, every 2 months, whatever, once a year, whatever. But people don't know that you can actually earn dividends from NFTs, not literal sake, but that type of thing in a really easy way to explain it to people. You can earn, is that type of environment, you can earn them after every sale. You can get a bit, it's not a huge, I can't remember how much it is. I know there's certain ones for personal sake that are 10%. You get 10% of every single sale, which can be a lot of money, but that goes to you effectively instead of the person that goes to you. Do you think that's actually, so your mate was maybe, obviously you said it was your mate, he's maybe onto something. If he gets that and then he sells it, or he was to use that money to make one, do you think you could actually turn it into a full-time job once you've created the art? Eventually you could just literally live kind of free because you're getting dividends all the time. Do you think you could do that?
Well, just for people who don't know already what dividends are, so essentially, let's take Coca-Cola as an example. So if you buy some shares or stocks from Coca-Cola and it's an established company, you would get like 1% each quarter or each year from the earnings of like the income of the company. You would get a small percentage of it just to reward people for holding on to it. Now for NFTs, I think it's a very much quicker way of transacting with it. Like he told me he wanted to buy it, not to hold it, just to sell it again when it goes to 72K or 75K, because he promised me that by the end of by the end of June, he promised me it would be 200K. So I'm still waiting on to see what it is. So people in the NFT are just here to make a quick buck. I know very little people who are buying like cryptocurrencies and holding on to them for dear life. When it goes up and when it goes down, they want to hold it for years and years and years. People just want to make a quick buck so far, until it becomes mainstream and people take it a bit more seriously and regulations come into play and make more sense of it, and governments and countries go deeper into cryptocurrencies. Then I would say think that we can see more logical dividends, because the 10% you're talking about, there are small companies who have stocks which pay you 10% from their income. Now the 10% from the NFTs will be much like more valuable, but it's a risk you have to wait for. Like maybe the NFT would plummet in price, then the 10% won't be worth anything.
Yeah, you're very true. Again, I normally do have questions that I ask people, but like I feel like we've had I feel like the questions that I've managed to ask, the questions and the answer that you've given have been like probably some of the most informative and down to earth from two different people's point of view on NFTs and cryptocurrencies and stuff. But I'm curious though, did your mate end up buying the Disney thing?
Well, he doesn't have 50K liquid, and it was yesterday, so I don't think he bought it yet. It was
Oh,
literally
right.
yesterday. I was just done with the meeting, and I saw him. He was like very frustrated.
Well, let's let's hope he gets it. Let's hope he absolutely gets it and stuff. I hope he does. But I will ask a couple of things because I do like to get people's opinions on this. And with yourself being way smarter than I am, I'm curious to what you say on this one. And it's nothing to do with, as I will say there, I really want to thank yourself for going through NFTs and cryptocurrency and metaverse. You definitely have given people, you've opened my eyes up. And like I said to you for the podcast, I do have things that I am seriously going to ask because like I don't know the answer to them. So now you've managed to help me now. I do want to say that. Now moving on from that side of things, we'll talk about, I have a question about social media. I ask if you've ever watched any of my content. I ask this question constantly and people will know exactly what it's nothing bad, by the way, but people will know exactly what I'm going to ask you. Do you think that when you're going into a job, you should watch what you post on social media because it does reflect on you, your family, or your job? Or do you think you should just be like the real you and post whatever you want? And I'm not talking about like racism or nothing like that, just in general. Or do you think you should like really like monitor what you put down because it could stop your chances of getting a job now that we're so into the social media type of world?
Well, yeah, I think it's a very good question. But when you think about getting a job, usually like it's not really common for other companies to recruit you and ask for you to go to their job and join their company. It's you that's wanting to go to this company. Now, if you're used to wearing jumpers and hoodies and hats and everything, but you go to a very fancy restaurant and they ask you to wear smart, do you just go in your normal clothes just because it's you, or you just follow the rules of the environment that you're trying to get into? This is the way I compare jobs to real life things. You're asking to join into this environment. It's not them that needs you. You needed them more. This is why you applied. So there are rules there. If the rules are not to be controversial, not to criticize anyone, not to make anyone feel uncomfortable with their identity or with their decisions in life, then you have to respect it, or else it's not that they don't like you, you're just not a good fit for the environment you're trying to get into.
That's actually a very like way better technical answer than one of the most technical answers I've actually heard from that type of thing. You do make a good point. And effectively, you do kind of like, my opinion always is that you do kind of need to watch, because although they say it doesn't matter, if you're going into like the type of job you're going into, eventually you probably work your way up and work in the sense of like, obviously we'll take away the fact you're doing a startup, because if that kicks off, obviously you'll be involved in that, but heavily involved in that. But when you have your job and you're posting yourself going like, just for example's sake, going out all the time and drinking and partying and on boats and on holiday, all people are like, so when does this guy actually work? But if you're posting like hard working posts, if you're posting like maybe every now and again, but like you're kind of monitoring what you do put online. And the reason I ask this question is because I've spoken to employers before. Again, I was told not to mention who it was, but I've spoken to 6 employers in total. I did like a survey of it because I only know like 20 something people that own businesses, just because of this, what I used to be involved in that, with the security business. So I do know people, and they all say, yeah, it does affect it. Like if we know you're posting things that are like crazy online, we can't not hire you for that reason yet. But there is a regulation that's coming in place that will make that a thing. So if you're posting just ridiculous things online that just shouldn't be on there, or really offensive, just bullying people or something like that, you will lose your job, because you have to like keep a kind of like a pace line online, to be honest with you. That's definitely what I see coming in place. But with everything you do, right? And I'm really curious about your answer to this. You do 4 different things. You probably do more than that, but what you've told me today is you do 4, right? That's taxing, no matter what it is. And I know you're young, and you can afford to do it like I can. I can afford to work 16 hours a day, sleep barely any, and get up. I can afford to do it because I'm young. You're young the same. You could do it yourself. But how do you stay so driven and keep the motivation to do that? Is there something there, or is it just because you know where you want to be?
Well, you definitely have to know where you want to be, but it's also 100% because of the environment I grew up in. So when I was 4, my father passed away, and it
Oh,
was up
sorry
to
to hear
my
that,
mom
man.
to. It's fine. It was up to my mom to take care of me and my sister.
Mm.
So I would see her coming back, like she's a dentist, going to work at 9 a.m. and coming back home at 8 p.m., just telling her kids good night because we would stay at my grandma's house and come back home and sleep. And she was still driven. She would go back home and still work because she had to take care of our lunch for the next day. She had to choose our clothes. She had to wash the dishes and do everything she had to do with the home. And she was still hungry. Every single day she would go back to work. And so it wasn't just because I was competitive. I wanted to be even better than anyone I knew. It was just because I wanted her to be proud of me. And of course, I wanted my dad to be proud wherever he is right now, to
Yeah.
also be proud of me. So other than knowing what you want to do in life, when you think about what you've seen while growing up, you just don't have much of a choice there. You just success or like hard working or making sure you work harder than anyone else around you is just not even an option. It's like you have to work harder than anyone else.
Yeah, wow, that was a very powerful message. And again, sorry to hear about your dad. And as I said to you before, my mum just brought me, my brother, and my sister up. So like, I know what you're talking about. Like, I don't like talking. Well, he's not dead, but he's not here. He's not around. So like, I never knew. I never really knew him. So she just brought us up, and yeah, that's what makes me so motivated and push me forward. Is that I can relate to you exactly 100%. The fact that she works all the time, constantly, not so much now because obviously, you know, again she'll slap me for this, but she'll be retiring in a couple of years. So she's a little bit different. But even when we were upbringing and that, when I was a lot younger, we did see her constantly coming in, and we had to get somebody to childmind us in the morning before we went to school because she was just leaving too early to pay attention. And it was crazy. She was there, but at the same time, you knew that when she was there, she was exhausted, she was tired because she was working that hard. But that's because she wanted to put food on the table and make sure we had what we had. Um,
They
until
make
I ended
sure
up,
they don't feel like they're tired. They make sure you never feel like they're tired.
oh,
They make
100%.
sure to feel that they're always happy and they're always everything's good. Don't worry, it's fine. And
Mhm.
this is like the perfect example to have as a young person growing up. This is what is expected from you for your entire family, to always have their back and make them feel like it's fine. I'll take care of it, and I got you.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more, man. And the thing is, as well, is that when I did hit, for those of you who don't know, I did hit a point of where I had nothing, and when I became sober, I had nothing in my bank account. No, I had no money, no 20 quid, nothing. Like I just said, I couldn't afford anything. So she still supported me, and I was of age to support myself. So really should have supported, but she was still supporting me. She would work extra shifts to be able to support me. But that's obviously that's a completely different kind of way of looking at it, a different kind of way of going. But yeah, it's you're totally right. You're totally right. It does like reflect back on us and makes us work harder. And but there does come a time in a place where you burn out. I've not really felt it. I feel it a little bit time with training and getting fatigued. It's more fatigue to be honest with me. But are you concerned about that time when you do become when it does run you down, or are you not really thinking about it because it might cause it to come sooner? What's your way of going about in that one?
Well, I've had lots of challenges throughout my short life so far,
Mhm.
and I don't think a burnout would have anything on me. In fact, I would invite a burnout to come and see how I deal with it.
Wow. Yeah. Great answer. Great short answer. Great answer.
Let's
Last
see what it
question.
has to play.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Last question I want to ask you. Have you ever had to face your fears before? And I know some people say fear is a construct, so it's not actually face everything and rise. It's what Grant Cardone will tell you. But like fear is an actual thing, like it's a literal thing. It's just an advanced form of being scared. And if you have had to face them, how did you deal with it in the time? And then how did you deal with it mentally after that?
Well, do you think about fear as in fear of interacting with people in a certain way, or do you think about fear like phobias of like bees or like cats or something like this?
I am personally, if
Yeah.
are you meaning me personally, or like is this like a wider question?
No, like you personally, what do you mean by fear? Like,
Oh, me
what
personally.
example can you give?
Um, I don't mean spiders, nothing like that. Like, because
Yeah.
I think that's a phobia, and the phobia and fear are obviously relatively the same thing, but you can overcome phobias. you can't overcome, well, you can overcome fear. So a fear of starting something, a fear of, you know, with you being a student, maybe money was tight and you were like, I'm afraid to do this or I'm afraid to that. So you keep yourself, is that why you keep yourself so busy? Because like you have that fear that just in case the bank account goes to zero, obviously not talking about your money, and I beg you don't, but
Yeah.
do you think that could be why you work yourself so hard? Because you do have a little bit of fear of, because like myself, I'll relate back to myself. I have a fear of being a failure. I just have it. It's just why I work hard, why I do so many different podcast avenues, you know, uni work, all this sort of stuff. That's why, because I fear failing. Are you the same thing? Do you have that little bit of fear in you because your mum works so hard, because you have a sister as well? You kind of want to always be providing.
Well, I'm very grateful because I was brought up in a way to never think about money and never think about having to get money. My mom is currently like paying for my education. She's paid for everything and no one has ever helped her.
Right.
She always said to do what you think is right and do it the best way you can possibly do it, and then the money will come. You don't have to think about money. The money will come one way or another. What is meant to come your way will come your way. So money has never been a straight fear of mine. It was just about doing things I know I can do well and making sure you never go to perform and don't not do your best. But my actual fear was about time. Like as every second goes, I'm getting older, my mom is getting older, my sister is getting older. I'm 1 second or 1 day closer to the end of my journey, let's say in university, and then in my internship, 1 day closer to the end of my job or like retirement or end of life. So it's just thinking about necessarily you have the decision to make. Like back then, I was just thinking that it only gets worse and worse. Like the people that brought me up will one day perhaps not be with me. I will lose the people that I like, I love. I would lose some friends that I grew up with. It's just when life goes on and on, you would keep on losing stuff and you get weaker. And it just doesn't, it's not an exponential way of like a linear way to get better and better and better. It just becomes harder and harder. And the decisions you make will have bigger implications and much worse outcomes if you do like mistakes compared to if you make a mistake when you're 14. It's not as when you make a mistake when you're 31, let's say. So I've talked to many people about this topic until I got to the final decision that it's up to you to decide. Yeah, one day everyone will die. No one here is here forever. But it's up to you to decide as soon as you wake up, as soon as you open your eyes. You have to be grateful for the fact that you opened your eyes and you didn't die in your sleep, let's say. And your only mission for that specific day is to do the absolute best so that when your head meets the pillow again for the next time, you make sure there was nothing else you could do on that day. And as soon as you do this, you would make the most out of every second you have on that day. You would make sure that you tell the people you love that you love. I make sure to tell everyone I love that I truly love them and you matter, and I make sure I call everyone that I love. And I do the best I can and perform in the best possible way every single day. And when I lay down, I know that it couldn't have gone a single way better.
Wow. What a way of putting it. What a way of putting it. Well, that's, I'd say well done, but like, wow, that's, you're so true. That's the thing as well, is that you don't actually know what's going to happen. For example, I mind that the place I used to stay at was near a main street, not where I stay now, but when I was very, very young. I can't remember what age I was. I think I was 14 or 15. I walked out of my house and nearly got hit by a car. The car was actually passing my door on top of the pavement. Obviously, shouldn't have been there, but the guy was just being a clear idiot. Nearly completely killed me. And to that day, since even when I was at that age, I was like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, this is like, you literally never know. Like, I was not expecting that. I can't remember where I was. I think I was going down to my mate's house at Sutton, an old friend, I should say. I think I was going down to his house. It's, you literally never know when it's going to be your last day. Like, you're so true. And the fact how you do, even though you fall out with someone, I always say this to people, and it's a great note to end on, is that never go to sleep angry with anybody. Always go to sleep telling, your people you love them. If you can't tell them because maybe they're working or whatever that may be, at least let them know that you're fine with them. So like there's nothing happen, or never, ever, ever go to sleep angry with somebody, or, you know, mad with somebody, or in a rage or fit, because at the end of this day, anybody that's causing you to be like that is not worth being around, because they're causing you to be in it, but you ignore them. If that's the way people want to be, fine. And, you know, I could never, ever, ever tell somebody what to do, but you do need to like make sure that the people that matter know they matter and keep them mattering. And on that note, unless there's anything, in fact, before we go, is there any social media, like maybe your Instagram page or your Twitter page, or if you want to, obviously, give them out. Do you want to share?
Sure. It's just we will drop maybe my Instagram link down in the description. It's Karim underscore Karim Fawaz underscore. It's just very basic.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, and what we'll do as well is, for those of you that know, is that you'll have already seen it, but after it will be in Instagram before this video comes out, because of, you know, it'll be in the bio, which is down below. And then yeah, you can, for those of you on LinkedIn as well, his name will be there. So if you want to speak to him about cryptocurrency and that, don't come to me, because I wouldn't do it. Like no financial advice was given in this video whatsoever, but you know, we definitely need for everybody to get involved in that. And that's what I want to say. Thank you very much for coming on, Karim. It means a lot.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Like, comment, subscribe. Again, huge support in the videos recently. It's been amazing. And if you've ever got any messages or something like that, anybody I speak to will, as you say, their social media links will be in the bottom. Also, you can speak to me. And then if you want to be on the show and you have a reason, you have a subject you want to talk about, hit me up. I'm more than happy to talk to absolutely anybody. Thank you very much. See you later.